Hey, Scott Cook here, 100K Executive Vice President with CTFO. And in this video, and I'm going to make it as brief as I can, I'll discuss cannabis versus hemp, marijuana versus industrial hemp. What's the real difference? There's so much misconception out there about hemp, even from industry professionals. So let's deal with facts. The fact is that hemp is cannabis. Let me explain a bit further so you can understand about the possible confusion between the word cannabis and the word hemp. Where does it come from, that confusion? Well, a lot of people think that marijuana and industrial hemp are the same thing. And in some ways, that's accurate, but in others, it's certainly not. There are several main subgroups of the cannabis plant: sativa, indica, ruderalis, and so on. Industrial hemp is a group of cannabis plants within the cannabis sativa species. These are plants that grow thin and tall, the industrial hemp. Cannabis is a species of a plant. The cannabis species has different strains. The cannabis that gets you high is known commonly as marijuana. Now, most people use the word cannabis interchangeably with marijuana and with hemp, and that's where the confusion comes from. And frankly, if you were to have mentioned the word hemp to me 2 years ago, I'd have immediately associated it with marijuana. So, for an analogy of where I go with this, think about citrus, the citrus family and the family tree. All of the oranges, lemons, limes, and grapefruits that you've ever eaten are descendants from just a few ancient species and are different strains. You could also think of apples. Same thing there. So, in order for the plant we use for CBD hemp oil to be called industrial hemp, it's not enough to just be a sativa. Yes, it needs to be a sativa species, but with very particular characteristics. The number one being, it must contain very low THC percentage, always below 1% THC, and usually below 0.3%. In contrast, your typical recreational marijuana strains can go as high as 20% THC or even higher. So in other words, if something's truly industrial hemp, it's virtually impossible to get high from it. And the second characteristic, hemp strains grow thin and tall, very tall. Industrial hemp that's of the sativa species is almost like bamboo in nature in terms of how fast it can grow and how tall it can grow. Industrial hemp can grow 25 feet tall. Your typical marijuana strain is a bushy plant with buds all over it. Now, the third characteristic of the industrial hemp plant is that it has very strong fiber. It's bred for that quality. And because it's so strong, it can be used for tough use applications and materials like rope, textiles, sailcloth, ship's riggings, fiberglass-like formed materials, and hempcrete, which is a concrete mix reinforced with hemp fiber. It goes on and on. The fourth characteristic of industrial hemp is that hemp is super adaptable, a lot more than other cannabis plants, because it does not produce those large buds that other cannabis plants do. It can grow in a large variety of weather and terrain conditions. So industrial hemp is cannabis, but a very distinct type and strain of cannabis. Hope this helped you understand.